your children, and then all of us as we grow as Christians each and every day. Pray that be with us and bless us. In Jesus' name, amen.
And I will try to stay on time here, not go too long or go too short with this, 'cause I want to make sure that I finish before the allotted time is up. Um, it's been 5 years now that I've been doing the work here. And it's quite amazing to me that it's been that long, because it doesn't seem like it has been, but it has. And I started out not having any idea what to do, and I still don't know a lot about what to do, but I do my best. I've learned a lot of things through the years, and I've built a lot of relationships. And as we go into this year, I was thinking, what are some things that that can be focused on? What do we need to look for and look for with our youth? Because I say this all the time to our kids. We say that our youth is the future. Our youth is the future, and I try to tell them that they're part of the congregation now, and they're a piece of the congregation now, and they have a purpose and they have a role, and they can glorify God and they can share His love with those that they come into contact with. And to get them to that point that they're confident to be those individuals, and to know their role, and to know what they can do and what they're capable of. There's some things that we need to focus on. And so there's just two things that I want to touch on this morning that I want to challenge you, if you're a parent or you're a guardian or you're responsible for a child, or if you're a grandparent or a relative or anything, to challenge you to do with your children that are involved in your life. And I know this morning, due to the weather, due to illness, there's not a lot of people here, so we'll need to pass word around on some of these things, and we'll make announcements to make sure that everybody is aware of what was spoken this morning, and the program that we're going to be doing. But the first thing we need to do is we need to strengthen the foundation of our youth. That's where it all starts with. When you build a home, and Jesus makes the reference in his parable about the wise man building his house in Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27. And when that's a kid song that we sing on the regular here. The wise man built his house upon the rock, right? The foundation of Jesus that we read about in 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 11. The only foundation that your faith can be built on is the foundation of Jesus Christ. And Jesus in his parable, and we all know this parable, the wise man's house stands firm against the storm, and the foolish man's house does what? If you're a kid, you say, fell flat, right? All right, our kids know that song by memory, and that's a basic concept that we all know, but we have to strive for, and we have to make sure that we're doing it, especially in today's world where everything is coming at them from all different angles. When we think about the amount of time that a child spends focused on God just within these doors. Okay? If you say 4 hours, which by the time we get here, we conduct worship, we go through Bible study multiple times a week. We have 2 worship services, 2 Bible study services. It's a little bit less than 4 hours, but if you round it up to 4 hours, you get 208 hours a year. 208 hours a year. If you assume that your child is awake 16 hours a day for 2 weeks, they're going to be awake longer than that. Right? Even if you take time, sleeping time out, they're going to be awake over 200 and some odd hours. That means in 2 weeks, they're going to be exposed to more things of this world and more things outside of this assembly and these worship services and Bible studies. And so it is important and it's imperative that there is a focus on God outside of here, right? Anytime, when you're a parent, you got to be studying with your kids. You got to be doing family Bible time. You need to be praying with them, and praying more than just over a meal, right? Pray often. Pray for each other. Pray for those that are on our sick list. Pray for those who have lost loved ones, those that are on our mind. Ask them how their friends are doing. Is there anybody in their life that they need to be praying for? Show a focus on speaking to God. Show a focus on communicating with Him through prayer and Him communicating with us through the studying of His Word. It has to absolutely be an emphasis. The congregation here in the Lord's church abroad can only do so much because we've only got so much time with them. Right? Our time is finite that we have with them. And so the focus and the emphasis needs to be done first and foremost at home to strengthen that. Now, that's not to say that the congregation can't do anything. We're about to look at something that the congregation is going to attempt to do. But just like with school children, teachers are only exposed to those children for so long. Teachers aren't responsible, for the character building of that child. Bible study teachers shouldn't be the only person who's teaching the Bible and should be solely responsible for teaching your child the words of our Lord. Right? It's got to take place. The way that I always view it and the way that I think of it as a parent is my job as a parent should come first, and what's happening here should be supplemental to what I'm doing at home. Should be in addition to the things that are going on at home. Now, I want to challenge you to make an emphasis to focus more on God with your children. And you may not know where to start. You may not know what to do. You may say, well, I want to do family Bible time, but what do I need to do for family Bible time? If you need help or you need assistance, I've got several resources that I'd be willing to share with you and help you with, or help you set a plan. Study the Bible, set a reading plan, challenge everybody in your family to be a daily Bible reader. Just try to come up with something that's going to focus on God and place an emphasis on His Word. Because first and foremost, that's the most important thing in our lives, and it should come first next to everything else. We expect our children, they have a spelling test. We make them study for their spelling words before that test. Right? They have a final or a midterm or anything. We make sure that they're going to study those things. As a parent, I do not have a child in school yet, but I bet a phrase that comes out of a parent's mouth a lot is, have you done your homework? Have you done your homework? Have you done it? You make sure that those things are done, and we need to do the same thing with God. Are we doing our homework for Him? Right? Are we studying and making sure that we're doing everything we can? And then the second thing, and this is where we'll spend the majority of the time this morning, is we need to grow the relationships between our young people of this congregation and our older generation, adults of the congregation. Our children need to feel that they belong. They need to feel that they are a part of this congregation. Again, I said, they're the now, right? They are the now and they are the present. And we need to try to do everything that we can to show them that they are a piece of this congregation. And, when they come here, it's more than just, well, that's who I go to church with. Right? That's the person that I go to church with. Right? That's, that's my brother or sister in Christ. That's my friend. That's my family. Right? We need to be building those bonds and those relationships. Some things that I found through research. The Search Institute did a study, and it's a few years old, but I like the findings of it, and I couldn't find another one more recent. It says that bonding with a coach, a mentor, or other trusted adult can make a crucial difference in the way young people thrive in life. The second thing was teens show more academic achievement and hope for the future if they have a positive adult role model in their lives. Almost half of the teens identified one or more adults as a mentor. Okay, one or more adults as a mentor. Of those people who identified a mentor, half of those mentors were non-parental adults. So half kids said, yes, I have somebody that I look up to, that I have a mentor. And of those, half of them said, it's not a parent. It's a non-parental adult. The executive director of the Search Institute was quoted, and he said, caring adults beyond the immediate family really do matter a lot for the outcomes of the American children, including school success and success in their lives. Basically, what is that study saying? Is that adults outside of that family can have an immediate impact, right? They can serve a role, they can serve a purpose, and they can help out kids. Now, this was not a religious study that was done, but there was one that was done by the Fuller Youth Institute, and it found that relationships with adults in the church, both inside and outside of the church's youth ministry, play a key role in determining whether young people stay involved with their church or in the church after high school. So again, what is that saying? And this is, again, a different type of study, that those relationships that they're forming with adults have an impact and they matter. Our kids need that connection, right? They need a connection. We need to be building and growing those relationships. The example that I used in a previous meeting, and it's something that a lot of businesses will teach, is you want a customer who is sticky. You want a sticky customer. If you offer a product or a service, you want to make sure when you offer that product or the service, when you're providing it to that customer, you want to make it to where it is difficult for them to go elsewhere. Somebody else may offer a product or service or something similar or something different, but you want to make it difficult to change. Right? In banking, that is very true, because if you've ever changed banks, if you've banked somewhere a long time and you try to move everything, it's probably difficult. If you've got payments set up, right? If you've got your cards set up, whatever it may be, it's a hassle to do that. But it makes those individuals more sticky to your business. We need to create a sticky faith in our youth. And what I want to challenge you with that is to be a part of our Adopt a Student program. And I'll present it to you, and Matthew's going to help hand some stuff out, and I'll need somebody else. I thought Chris would be up here. I was going to get Chris to do it, but I think he went to the nursing home to help out with that service. If you guys want to, can I get somebody else to help Matthew hand it out if y'all want to? Okay. They're going to hand out two things to you, and while they're doing that, what I have come up with is a program. We're going to call it the Adopt a Student program. Right? As I said, it's imperative to build relationships with our young people. Right? I know when I was a child, I loved my parents dearly, but sometimes things were better said, or I took them a little bit better if it wasn't my parents saying it, right? Nothing against my parents, it's just that mentality as a child that if your parents say something, especially during your teenage years when you know everything, versus somebody else saying something, it may come off a little bit different. Children may be comfortable discussing things or asking things to non-parental adults. And so what we want to do is offer this Adopt a Student program where we're going to pair the children of our congregation with adults of our congregation. And there's going to be some guidelines and expectations, and that's what one form is. The other form is getting some information about you. And the guidelines are simple. What we want you to do is be in contact with whoever your student or students, because if there's a family and there's a married couple, we'll try to pair siblings together just for convenience. What we're going to do is you're going to be paired with this student, and your responsibility is going to be to contact this individual and interact with them at least twice a month. And that can be in person, that can be via phone call. If it's a teenager, you're probably going to have to text them, because they're not going to pick up their phone because they don't know what using your voice is to communicate. Right? So it can be any type of communication, but communicate with them. Then we're going to ask that if you would to have a meal with them once a quarter outside of a service here. And that is to get you to sit down with them, to bond, to fellowship over a meal. And we want it to be outside of the normal service here. We don't want a fellowship meal here to count as your quarterly meal with whoever your student or students are. We want it to be something separate and apart. Then we want you to encourage them to be involved. And that's an easy thing to do, is just encourage them to be involved with what's going on. Invite them to our fellowship meals, right? Invite them to come to our gospel meeting. Encourage them to come to our Friday night singings. Anything that we've got going on, I encourage you to come, and I want you to encourage whoever you're paired with, if you choose to do this, to come to those things as well. Because again, relationships and bonds between one another are super, super important. This congregation does a wonderful job meeting the needs of those who are sick, ill, those who have lost loved ones. Any time of need, this congregation does a wonderful job with that. You know, when somebody is in need, and you know, I think back to Acts chapter 2, there when it says, you know, they had things in common. You know, anybody had a need, you know, they came together, and I love that about this congregation. When there's a challenge, when there's a need, this congregation steps up to the plate. And I have no doubt that the congregation will step up here with this. Now there's, well, the fourth thing I guess we should get to is say hello or sit with your students, you know, at services or different activities. Again, if we have a fellowship meal, consider sitting with them. Consider sitting with them during service here, and I'm going to challenge them to do the same thing with you. You know, it's for them to sit with you as well. Again, build that bond, build that relationship. Part of the reason that this is dear to me is there was somebody who was very influential to me growing up. Who spent a lot of time with me that he didn't have to, and you know, he invited me over to his house, and it had an impact on me. And you know, when you have those personal experiences, I hope that, you know, the same thing can happen, you know, with this program. Also, when I was in college, and it's a little different, and we are going to do something for our college students as well that's going to be different for our school-age children here. When I was in college, we did something similar at the congregation that I attended in Cookeville, where they, you know, did an Adopt a College Student program where you were paired with members of that congregation there to help you while you were away from home, and you know, help give you a pick-me-up and stuff during the semester, you know, and just to help with everything that was going on while you're away from home. And again, those things mean a lot. Now, granted, I was 10 minutes from home, so it wasn't that far for me. But for some students who are a few hours from home that don't get to go home on the weekends or see their families, that means a lot to them. Because again, don't ever underestimate the impact that you may have on someone. Now, what the challenge is for you is to get involved and to do whatever you can. There's no right way and there's no wrong way. I'll say that. There's no. I have these expectations, but there's no right or wrong way. However you choose to do whatever. If you choose to go beyond those things, that's fine. There's some additional ideas that are going to be listed on there for some things that you may want to do, that you could do. And again, that list is not inclusive. You know, you don't have to do those things. If you want to do those things, that's fine. If you come up with other creative ways, that's wonderful. The ultimate goal, though, is to pair you or your spouse with some children or a single child, so that they can have that bond, they can have that relationship. And as I was speaking to one young person about this, because I tried to get input from several people, from some of our college students and our young adults who have come through, and even some of our younger kids and high schoolers, to see, what would you guys want, what would you guys be interested in, what would be beneficial to you. And the quote that stuck out to me, and I've already said it, is it will make me feel like I'm, it's not just somebody that I go to church with, right? They want it to be a more personal relationship, and so that's the ultimate goal. Now there's a questionnaire there. It was handed out to each of you guys. If you choose to go forward, if you would fill that out and give that to me. Our students are also going to be given questionnaires. Theirs are going to contain some more questions than yours. I'm going to try to pair you guys as best as I can. The student questionnaire will contain some information, and you will get the information on it, give you an idea of what the students like, what they're into, what they do, so that you're not blind as to what you can plan on doing. There's a preference there if you just for sure only want one student, or if you want a family, because again, I'll try to pair siblings together, and there's also an age preference. there, or a grade preference. Can't guarantee that that's what you'll get, but the option is going to be there. If you are a student or a parent of a student who is in grade school, that's who we're targeting for this, grade school and up, I want to encourage you to have them participate in this. If you have a student who is younger than grade school and they have a sibling who's in grade school, I'm not saying no, they can't participate. If you've got, because I know we have some siblings who sibling is in grade school and maybe the younger sibling isn't. I'm not going to prevent that younger sibling from participating if you would like them to do it together. Again, the point is to get them involved and to build those relationships. I've also got a separate thing that I'm doing. It's not going to be the same as for our grade school students. For our college age, we've got a few students who are away from school, and we've also got some that commute to college. It's not going to have the same expectations because it's going to be more difficult if you only see a student, once or twice a semester to be able to take them out to eat and stuff. But we don't want to forget about them too, because when you're away from home, again, as I said, that's a difficult time. You get away from everything you get away from your family. So we want to remember them as well in that. So if you're interested in that, check the college age. I will get you those expectations. Again, they're just a little bit different because they're tailored to our college students as well. I have rambled and I already heard that bell and I did not want to run out of time. Do you guys have any questions right now?
I have a really quick comment. As a high school teacher, if you sit here and you think, well, they've got great parents, they've got great, wonderful grandparents, they have that support system. A lot of kids who come to me are kids who don't want to stress their parents out or make their moms freak out because they're worried about an ACT score, or they've got teams with their trouble, or trouble with the team they're playing on, or they're not sure they're going to college. Those are the very kids who want somebody to talk to because my parents are freaking out because they said this is and I just want you to listen to me as an unbiased party. So don't assume because somebody's in church and they've got all that support system, they probably could really still use somebody that's very neutral and won't worry about them and try to fix the problem, but just listen to the problem.
Thank you, Denise. Anything else? If you have any questions, come and see me. The student questionnaires, if you're a parent, those are sitting out there. 6th grade and up has already gotten the questionnaires. If you have a student that's younger than that, though, I didn't want to hand those out and expect them to be able to fill it out without your help. Those questionnaires are back there. If you could get those back to me by February 3rd, that's 2 weeks, February 3rd. February 3rd. Yeah, February 3rd for everything, and then I'll have assignments and pairings by February 10th. So if you don't have it in by February 3rd, that's fine. I'm asking you to get it in. That way we can try to get them all together